השיעור מבוסס על סדרת ספרי זוהר לעם. ניתן להוריד את הספרים באתר...
The lesson is based on Zohar for All. You can download it and invite them from the archive. Kabbalah.info. Hello, we're studying from Zohar for All, Volume 5. We're on the portion Vayakhel. We're on item 299, starting with the words, "Thus there are two kinds of lights." You can watch us on Zviat Tova, Kab TV. Pertinent questions can be sent to and it will be aired during the lesson. Once again, we're on Vayakhel, item 299 in the middle, where it says, "Thus there are two kinds of lights." Let's try to be together, to be adapted to the upper light, so it will bestow upon us and bring us the holiness of this book, please. Thus there are two kinds of lights in these openings, from the upper heaven and from the upper earth. When the souls of the righteous come to the Garden of Eden, these two letters come out from that light and stand over that soul. This is because right at the arrival of the soul of the righteous to the Garden of Eden, the four reshimot of the four angels who remained in the opening from the giving that had ceased illuminate for him. Afterwards, two merkavot rush to descend from above out of these two openings. That is, the angels themselves come to give the soul in the Garden of Eden and divide the four angels into doubles. One, two to the side of Chasadim, on the south and the east. Michael and Raphael, Chesed and Tiferet. Two to the side of Gvurot, which illuminate in illuminations of Chokhmah on the north and on the west, Gabriel and Nuriel. Michael and Raphael illuminate in Chasadim, descend and stand over the soul, telling her, "Come in peace, peace will come." They illuminate for it the light of Chasadim on the right through the middle line, which places peace between the right and left lines. At that time, those two letters rise and stand in their place, and they are concealed inside the light of the openings. For because the angels themselves came, there is no need for their reshimot. Their two letters, Gimel, Nun, and the angels Gabriel, Nuriel, who are on the north and west, Gvura and Malchut, are interpreted likewise. It was said in the middle of all the firmaments, over the land of Israel, in the middle of the world, there is a door called Gvilon. The new siyum in the middle of the degree became an opening for the lower one, so it could rise and receive from the upper one. Under this opening there are 70 other openings below, through which to receive the 70 names in Malchut de Atzilut, the illumination of the name Ab, the 70 ministers of the 70 nations. From that opening, a road goes up above until it reaches the upper throne, because through there it is impossible to ascend to Malchut de Atzilut. 4 openings to each side in the firmament expand from this opening. These are the 4 Pchinot Chag Tam, up to the gate of the opening called Megdon. And there is the siyum of the firmament of the land of Israel. That is, the opening on the west is Malchut, where the degree ends. 300.
300. At
that time, those two merkavot ascend into a hidden place called Aloz, where 12 kinds of perfumes are concealed, as it is written, nard and saffron, calamus and cinnamon, with all the trees of frankincense, myrrh and aloes, along with all the finest perfumes. These are the 12 kinds, opposite the 12 boundaries of the diagonal in Zeranpin. However, they are governed by the chokhmah that is from below upward, which are called perfumes and scent. They too are 12 kinds of perfumes in the Garden of Eden below. And since their root is from Zeranpin, they are concealed, since the illumination of Chokhmah does not appear in Zeranpin. Rather, only those two Merkavot, Gabriel and Nuriel, considered the left in Malchut, in which the Chokhmah appears, and of which Gabriel is Gvura and Nuriel is Malchut, are permitted to enter there and receive garments for clothing of the soul, as they are illumination of Chokhmah that extends from the 12 kinds of the aforementioned perfumes. 301. There are all those garments of the souls which are fit for wearing, each according to what she deserves. All the good deeds that one has done in this world are written in that garment, and all are written in it and declare, "This is the garment of so-and-so." Then the angels take a garment, and the souls of the righteous in the garden wear it, similar to the form in this world. 302. These matters apply only from 30 days onward. For during all 30 days after the demise, there is not a soul that is not punished before it arrives in the Garden of Eden. Once she has been given its fitting punishment, she enters the Garden of Eden, and after she is whitened, purified from the filth of this world by the punishment, she wears a garment and is given her fitting place. Then the letters Mem, Resh, Gimel, Nun, and the acronym of the names of the angels come down, and the Merkavot of the 4 angels rise to their places. For once the angels return, the Reshimot of their illuminations should remain, being the 4 letters Mem, Resh, Gimel, Nun. 303. This firmament returns twice each day in the journeying of another firmament that clings to it. Also, this firmament does not go outside the Garden of Eden, as it overlaps only with the Garden of Eden. The firmament is formed of all sorts of colors, white, red, green, and black, which are Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Malchut. The firmament of the Garden of Eden is Da'at, and the firmaments of the world of Asiyah are Tiferet, which includes Chagat Nehi. This firmament of the Garden of Eden connects into the firmament of Asiyah as Da'at that expands to Chagat Nehi of the Guf. However, the Da'at does not expand to Vak of Tiferet unless when it ascends to it in the middle line, when the Da'at itself divides into 2 lines, Chub, right and left, and the Tiferet that rose to it becomes a middle line connecting them with one another and clothing them in one another. Also, Tiferet receives that same measure of illumination that Tiferet causes to be added in Da'at, since the lower one is rewarded with full measure that it causes to come out of the upper one, and once the Tiferet received the illumination of Da'at, it expands to its place to the Guf. This illumination is called the expanding Da'at, and it is known that the 3 lines are called 3 times or 3 places, and the disclosure of their illumination is only in journeying. It was said that this firmament returns twice each day, that the firmament of the Garden of Eden, Da'at, divides and illuminates in 2 lines, right and left, and the 2 lines of Da'at connect in the journeying of another firmament of Asiyah that clings to it. This means that the firmament of Asiyah, Tiferet, becomes the middle line, connecting the 2 lines of Da'at in the journeying. At that time, the illumination of the firmament over the Garden of Eden expands to the rest of the firmaments of Asiyah, which are Tiferet, as the Da'at that expands to the Guf. However, for itself, it does not go outside the Garden of Eden to the firmaments of Asiyah, though its illumination does expand. 304. 22 letters are inscribed and engraved in the firmament over the Garden of Eden. Each of them drips over the garden dew from the dew above. From that dew, which is illumination of Chasadim, these souls bathe and are healed after they have bathed themselves in the river of Dinur to be purified. The dew comes down only from the letters inscribed and engraved in the firmament, because these letters are the whole of the Torah, extending from Zeranpin of Atzilut, which is called Torah. As he was made of the fire and water of the Torah, the fire and water of Zeranpin of Atzilut. 305. For this reason they cast dew on all those who engage in Torah Lishma in this world. These words are inscribed in the Garden of Eden and rise to the firmament over the Garden of Eden, taking dew from those 22 letters that are there to nourish the soul. As it is written, let my teaching drop as the rain, my speech distill as the dew. 306. In the middle of that firmament is one opening opposite the opening of the palace above in Yetzirah. In that opening, the souls fly out of the Garden of Eden above in a pillar that is nailed to the earth of the Garden of Eden and reaches up to that opening. The opening that was made in the middle of the firmament is the new siyum that was made in the middle of the degree of the Garden of Eden due to Malchut's ascent to the place of Binah. Because of that siyum, half of the degree, Binah and Tum, fell to the lower degree, the earth of the Garden of Eden. At the time of Gadlut, when Malchut returns to her place and Binah and Tum rise up to their degree, to the firmament, they take the lower degree along with them, those souls that are in the earth of the Garden of Eden. It follows that the new siyum that was made in Binah has become an opening for the lower one through which to rise to the upper one. And those Binah and Tum that initially fell down to the earth of the Garden of Eden by clinging to the degree of the earth of the Garden of Eden, it is considered that they were nailed to the soil of the garden, while they themselves are considered a tall pillar that reaches up to that opening in the middle of the firmament. Through that pillar, the souls rise from the earth of the Garden of Eden to the firmament of the Garden of Eden. That is the time of Gadlut, when Binah and Tum, which are considered a pillar, rise back to the firmament of the Garden of Eden. They also take with them the souls in the earth of the Garden of Eden, raising them to the firmament of the Garden of Eden. 307. Inside the firmament is the opening in the middle of the firmament over the garden. 3 colors of light enter, including together. They are Chabad, and they illuminate through the colors of the pillar that rose up there. At that time, that pillar sparkles and blazes in several blazing colors. And the righteous that rose with that pillar to the firmament receive the lights from the firmament through that pillar. Every hour the righteous illuminate from the upper brightness, and this applied always. However, each Sabbath and every beginning of a month, divinity is revealed in that firmament more than on other times, and all the righteous come and bow to her. 308. Let's not forget that in the connection we expect the illumination. 308. Happy is he who has been rewarded with those garments. Those garments are from good deeds that a man made in this world with the mitzvot of the Torah, the mitzvot that depend on actions. The soul stands in them in the lower Garden of Eden and dresses in those honorable garments. 309. When the soul rises through the opening above, other high and honorable garments are provided to her, which are made by mitzvot that depend on the will and the aim of the heart in the Torah and in the prayer. It is so because when that will rises, those who are crowned in it are crowned. A part of it remains for that person, and garments of light are made of it, for the soul to dress in and rise. And although these garments of the soul in the lower Garden of Eden depend on an act, those that rise up to the firmament depend only on the will of the Spirit, to stand among the angels, the holy spirits. This is what Rabbi Shimon learned from Elijah. The garments of below in the Garden of Eden, of the earth, it depends on the action. The garments of above depend on the will and the aim of the spirit in the heart. 310. It's written, and a river went out of Eden to water the garden. However, that river in the garden below comes out of its Eden, like the river that comes out of Eden in Atzilut, from Chokhmah of Atzilut. But Eden, which is Chokhmah in the firmaments in the Garden of Eden below, if it was given to the disclosure below, the place of the upper Holy Eden would be given to know. Yet, because of the concealment of the honor of the upper Holy Eden, Chokhmah Atzilut, so it would not be revealed, the lower Eden was hidden and concealed as well. Meaning the Chokhmah in the firmaments in the lower Garden of Eden, from which that river in the Garden of Eden extends. Therefore this Eden was not given for disclosure even to the souls in the Garden of Eden. The Chokhmah of Arichanpin that is hidden and in the upper Abavim of Atzilut are called Eden. This Chokhmah was given from the lower ones, and there is no attainment in her at all. Also, the Chokhmah that appears to the lower ones is from Binah, which went outside of Rosh of Arichanpin, which is called a river that comes out of Eden due to the Malchut that rose to the place of Binah. Afterwards, when she returned to the Rosh at the time of Gadlut, she receives Chokhmah from Chokhmah Stima in Rosh of Arichanpin. And then Binah became Chokhmah once again, and her illumination of Chokhmah appeared in the place of Malchut, and from Malchut to the lower ones. This matter applies in every degree through the world of Asiyah and the firmaments in the Garden of Eden, since there are 10 Sfirot in each degree, and the Chokhmah in them is called Eden, while she herself is hidden, like Chokhmah Stima of Arichanpin above. However, through Malchut's ascent to Binah in that degree, and Binah and Tum falling to the degree below her, this is why they are called a river that went out of Eden, of that degree. At the time of Gadlut, when these Binah and Tum return to their degree, they receive Chokhmah from their Eden, and from them the Chokhmah goes out to the Malchut in that degree. In the Eden, in the firmament of the Garden of Eden, were given for disclosure below the place of the upper Holy Eden would also be given to know. This is so because the Chokhmah in all degrees is Eden, and if the Eden of the lower degree were revealed to that, it would reveal with it the Eden of the upper degree through Chokhmah Stima. This is why there is no attainment at all in the Gar of each degree. Once the river that comes out of Eden is called Binah, and what it's called Tum. Once it's called Yesod, since everything goes towards the same place. This is so because these Binah and Tum are only half of Binah and Tum. For Gar of Binah are not regarded as coming out of Eden, but only Zat of Binah, which means Tum that are included in Binah. It follows that there is no Binah here, but Tum. Thus, they are all regarded as merely Tiferet. With respect to the Partzuf, though whose 10 Sfirot divide into Rosh Toch Sof, it is considered that Binah and Tum that fall from that degree begin from Chazeh and below. It is so because Chagat of Guf are considered Gar of Guf, who also did not exit their Eden, but only Nehi of Guf. And since the essence of Nehi is the middle line, Yesod, we call Binah and Tum that fell from the degree by that name, Yesod. 311. Just as the river Binah and Tum parts and goes out of Eden, Chokhmah in the Rosh of Arichanpin, to water the garden above, Malchut of Atzilut, a single light that divides into 4 sides and 4 openings, goes out of that opening in the middle of the firmaments in the garden. The place where those inscribed letters, Mem, Gimel, Reish, Nun, stand. And this light divides into 4 lights, and 4 sparkling letters come out of Eden, a place where the point above illuminates Chokhmah of the firmaments in the Garden of Eden of the earth. the upper point that is there. 312. That upper point illuminated and became Eden to illuminate, and there is no one to govern, to see, and to know that point except for the light that expands from it through the opening in the middle of the firmaments, before which the righteous in the Garden of Eden bow. The bottom point, Malchut, in the Garden of Eden, is a garden to the upper Eden, the upper point, Chokhmah, a place that cannot be known or looked at. 313. It is written about all that, neither has the eye seen a God besides you. The name Elokim, God, is explained. One God besides you is the bottom holy point, Malchut of Atzilut, who is called Elokim. She knows that Eden below and in the Garden of Eden of the earth, which is hidden in the garden, and there is no one else who knows it except Malchut of Atzilut. And two, a God besides you is the highest Eden of all, the next world, Chokhmah of Atzilut, who appears in Bina of Atzilut and who is called the next world, Elokim. He knows the bottom point, Malchut of Atzilut, through a righteous who comes out of it, the river that satiates her, the river that goes out of Eden, Yesod, righteous. There is no one who knows her but him, as it is written, a God besides you, who gripped up above through Ein Sof. Ain is Chokhmah. The eye is Chokhmah, seeing is the giving of Chokhmah. And there are two interpretations on the verse, neither has the eye seen a God besides you. One implying Malchut of Atzilut, which is called Elokim, where the Chokhmah does not appear in any Sphira but her, and the meaning of the words, neither has the eye seen, is to impart Chokhmah upon Eden in the Garden of Eden of the earth, besides God, Malchut, in which the Chokhmah appears. 2, implying Bina of Atzilut, who is called Elokim also. And the meaning of the words, neither has the eye seen, is to impart Chokhmah upon Malchut Atzilut besides God, means Bina of Atzilut, from whom the root of the right of Chokhmah in Malchut begins, and not from the other Sphira. Since Malchut was built from the left line of Bina, from which she receives the Chokhmah in her. 314. And this river that goes out of Eden in the Garden Eden of below, for the wise is as it's written, and satisfy your soul in purities. This matter is explained above and below, because the soul that comes out of this dark world craves to see the light of the upper world, like that man who craves to drink water in his thirst. Thus each is in drought, as it is written, parched with thirst. Drought means pure, purity, thirsty, for the purity of the lights of the garden, the firmament, and the palaces in the garden. 315. And a river went out of Eden. All the souls sit by the river in garments of honor. Were it not for the garment, they would not be able to tolerate the lights. Then they sit and satiate themselves in those purities and can tolerate. The river is correction of the souls, to sit and to be nourished and enjoy those purities, and the souls are corrected by the river and settle in it. 316. As the upper river, Yesod of Zeranpin, brings out the souls that fly away from it to the garden, Malchut of Atzilut, the river below, in the Garden of Eden of the earth, corrects the souls to be corrected and settle in those purities. Similar to this external world, the souls settle to illuminate in a scent of water because they initially came out in this way. And because the souls are corrected by the river that extends and goes out of Eden, they can settle in these upper purities and rise up through the openings in the middle of the firmament. And in the pillar that stands in the middle of the garden, the purities below are the lights of the garden and the firmaments and palaces, and both are made by the river that goes out of Eden. 317. The souls of the righteous rise through the opening in the firmament of the Garden of Eden, in the pillar in the middle of the garden. Around it is a cloud and smoke and the shining, as it is written, and the Lord will create over the whole habitation of Mount Zion, and over her assemblies a cloud by day, and smoke and the shining of a flaming fire by night. The cloud and smoke outside, and the shining within, are to cover those who rise, so they are not seen by those who dwell below. 318. Here lies the secret of secrets. When the point of the garden, Malchut of the Binah, of the earth, of Asiyah, called the point, wishes to be corrected in her corrections and decorated on Sabbath and on special times and festivals, the Creator sends her 4 faces of an eagle, which stand over the palace called freedom, as it is written, free myrrh. This is the reason for the need to declare freedom on the 50th year. As it is written, proclaim a release through the land to all its inhabitants. These 4 faces make a sound, calling upon all the dwellers of the garden, but there is no one to hear it, but the souls that are worthy of rising. And they gather there in the palace of freedom. Also these 4 faces take them and usher them in through the pillar that stands in the middle of the garden. On Sabbath and on special days and the beginning of the months, great mochin illuminate in all the worlds. They do not expand from above downward, but the lower ones rise in the place of the upper degrees, and there receive the mochin and not in their place. For every lower one to be able to rise to the upper one, an opening of the openings in the middle of the firmaments is required, through which the lower one rises to the place of the upper one. This opening is done by 3 names Ekyeh, which lower Malchut from the place of Binah to her place. At that time the boundary of the new Siyum that was in the place of Binah opens, and this is the firmament. Then Binah and Tum that fell from the upper one can return to their degree. Along with them they also take the lower one to which they clung to while they were fallen, raising it to the upper one. There's only one change here. What is called Avir there, Binah and Tum of the upper one, is called the pillar that stands in the middle here. And as it is said that the Avir carries the lower one and raises it to the upper one, it is said here that the pillar that stands in the middle carries the lower one and raises it to the upper one. When the point of the garden, Malchut of Binah and of the land of Asiyah, wishes to be corrected in her corrections and decorated on Sabbaths and special times and festivals, meaning receive the illuminations of the 3 Ekyeh that cancel the boundary of the Siyum of the firmament, because they return Malchut from there to her place. The Creator sends her 4 faces of an eagle, Chugtum, in the middle line, called the face of an eagle. 3 Ekyeh are clothed in these Chugtum, and their illumination lowers the Malchut from the Siyum of the firmament to her place, thus cancelling all the dinim and the boundary above the garden. They stand over the palace which is called freedom, whose illumination is the illumination of freedom and liberation. It is called the Freedom Palace, releasing all the dinim and the boundaries from the whole of the reality of the garden, by raising them from the siyum of the firmament and above through the middle pillar in the garden. This illumination is similar to the illumination of the Yovel, as it is written, and proclaim a release through the land to all its inhabitants. it shall be a yovel for you. Here too, these four faces make a sound, meaning the call of freedom to all the dwellers of the garden, that all the dinim and the boundaries have been cancelled, and anyone may rise up with the pillar that is standing in the middle. But there is no one to hear him except for the souls who are worthy of climbing. Those who are not worthy of climbing do not feel any of that liberation. They gather there in the palace of freedom, and those four faces take them and bring them inside through the pillar that stands in the middle of the garden. With that pillar they rise from the firmament and above according to their degree, as it is written, and each of you shall return to his property. We are not leaving the connection between us because the light is very special and it then influences our connection, but there must be a connection. 319. At that time that pillar raises a cloud, fire, smoke, and the shining from within. The illumination of the freedom and the souls are called habitation of Mount Zion and her assemblies. As it is written, and the Lord will create over the whole habitation of Mount Zion and over her assemblies, a cloud by day and smoke, and a shining of a flaming fire by night. It is so because the habitation of Mount Zion is a correction above when the lower point is decorated, the illumination of freedom through the four faces of the eagle above. The souls are the assemblies of that point to be decorated. Those souls that heard the calling of the freedom are called her assemblies, from the words, those whom she summons. Although Malchut descended from Binah's place to her place, the siyum and the boundary made due to the ascent of Malchut was not yet cancelled, because the middle line sustains the boundary by the force of the Masach of Chirik in it. And the Bina and Tum that connect to their degree do not connect while standing below the new siyum, but must rise above the new siyum and become a left line to Ketech Chochmah that remained in that degree. These dinim that extend from the keeping of the boundary through the Masach of Chirik in the middle line are called a cloud by day and smoke and shining, for which the illumination of freedom does not extend from the siyum of the firmaments downward into the garden, but illuminates from the siyum of the firmaments and above. For this reason, the souls and dwellers of the garden must rise and with the pillar that stands in the middle into the firmament, and there receive their illumination. If the boundary were cancelled altogether, and the illumination of firmaments would be drawn below into the garden, the souls would receive the upper illumination without needing any preparation. But now that the boundary exists through a cloud and smoke and shining, the upper illumination does not expand below, but the souls need to rise up to firmament along with the pillar. Therefore the souls that are not worthy of it do not know anything of the illumination of the freedom and do not rise. Only souls that are worthy of it hear a herald from the illumination of freedom and rise. It follows that the keeping of the boundary that was made through a cloud, smoke, and a shining covers those souls who are not worthy, who do not know of the essence of the worthy souls, since the light does not extend at all to the place of the souls below. This is why it was said, a cloud by day and smoke and the shining from within, to cover those who ascend, so they will not be seen by those dwelling below. At that time, that pillar sends up a cloud, smoke, and the shining from within. As for that reason, the pillar cannot stay below, for it cannot bond with the Ketech Chochmah of the firmaments, until it rises above the siyum of the firmaments. It follows that the cloud, fire, and smoke force the pillar, Bina and Tum that fell from the firmaments, to not stand still, but rise up. At that time, he takes with him all the souls in the garden that are worthy of it, and elevates them within it to the firmaments. They gather there in the Freedom Palace, and these four faces take them and usher them in through the pillar that stands in the middle of the garden. For the pillar to rise up to the firmaments, that pillar raises a cloud, fire, smoke, and a shining from within. Because of it, it must rise up, taking the souls with it. Yet we should remember that there is no absence in the spiritual, and although the pillars rises up, it is also considered that it remains below as it was. This is why it is considered that this pillar is always planted in the garden, even though it rises up. And as it is written, and the Lord will create over the whole habitation of Mount Zion and over its assemblies a cloud by day and smoke and shining of a flaming fire at night. The Creator created with the middle line, with the masach of chirik in it. Over the whole habitation of Mount Zion is illumination of freedom, and over her assemblies are the souls that are rewarded with hearing the calling of freedom. A cloud by day and smoke and shining of the flaming fire by night are to restrict the upper lights above in the firmament from being extended below, for by that the illumination of the freedom would disappear from the unworthy souls. 320. Because the souls rise up to that opening in the firmament, that firmament turns itself around the garden 3 times. The firmament travels in 3 places, 3 lines, whose majority of illumination is only during the traveling. Only out of the voice of the melodies of turning of the firmaments over the 3 lines, all the souls in the opening of the firmament come out, hearing the tunes of the firmament, seeing the pillar of that raised them, who raises fire, cloud, smoke, and the flaming shining, meaning the blazing dinim from masach of chirik in the middle line, which sustains the boundaries in a way that the lights would not be drawn from above downward, but only from below upward. All of them bow, lower their heads, indicating that they are accepting the boundary that they will not be drawn from above downward, which is gar, called rosh. Rather, they diminish their rosh to receive the light only from below upward, meaning illumination of vak of chokhmah and not gar of chokhmah. After the souls take it upon themselves the boundary of drawing only from below upward, the soul rises through that opening until they rise into the circle that surrounds that point, into the firmament that circles the garden, which is called a point. The firmament is chokhmah. At that time, they see what they see, meaning receive illumination of chokhmah, which is called seeing. And for the light and joy from what they see, they rise and fall, moving closer and farther back and forth. 321. Chokhmah, the upper point, craves them and is adorned by them with her light. The souls that rose to her become man in her, and then one high righteous Yesod of the world of Yetzirah wore envy and looked in the light and beauty of that point, and in her corrections, gripping her and raising her to him to Yetzirah, illuminating a light within a light of Chasadim in Yesod, illuminating within the light of Chokhmah in the point, becoming one, meaning they unite. At that time, all the armies of the heavens start and say, "Happy are you, righteous keepers of the Torah. Happy are you that you engage in Torah, for your master's joy is in you. For the crown of your master is crowned in you, because they caused that zivug." It was said, then one high righteous wore envy, for then the love is in complete perfection. Because all who loves and to whom envy is not connected, his love is not love. The essence of envy is that the external ones will not grip to it due to the absence of chasadim. 322. Then, since a light shines within a light, the light of Chasadim and the light of Chokhmah, the two lights join together and shine. Afterwards, those colors, the lights of that zivug, come down and look to play with those souls of the righteous that rose to man, and correct them to be crowned above. It is written about it, neither has the eye seen a God besides you, who works for him, that waits for him. 323. It's written, and over the heads of the animals was the likeness of a firmament, like the color of the terrible ice, stretched forth over their heads above. Yet there is a firmament, and there is a firmament. The firmament below, the parsa at the place of Chazeh of Zeranpin, which stands over the four animals in Malchut. Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Nuriel. From that firmament, parsa of Zeranpin, the form of Nukva, Malchut, spreads and stays in the back of the male, Zeranpin. As it is written, and you shall see my posterior, Malchut, is in the back of Zeranpin. As it is written, you have formed me behind and before. Implying Zeranpin and Malchut, where Zeranpin is the before and Malchut is the behind. It is written, and he took one of his ribs, implying Zeranpin and Malchut, that were initially two partzufim, behind and before, but were cut off. This is what that text means, and he took one of his ribs. 324. The firmament above the parsa in the place of Chazeh of Binah, Yeshut, stands over the upper animals, Chagat of Zeranpin. And from that firmament, the form of a male Zeranpin, superior to the Nukva, spreads out and stays. These two firmaments, one is called the end of heaven, the parsa in the place of Chazeh of Zeranpin, which is the tip and siyum of Zeranpin, which is called heaven, and one is called from the end of heaven, the parsa in Chazeh of Binah, from whom Zeranpin, called heaven, begins. It is written, from the end of the heaven to the end of the heaven. The heads of the animals below in Malchut are four animals, superior lights to those four letters that are written in these four openings in the Garden of Eden. These four animals are four angels. It is known that the firmament means the new siyum that was set up in the middle of the degree, because Malchut of each degree rose to Binah of each degree. This siyum is also called the siyum in the entrails, standing in the middle of Tiferet, Binah of Guf, at the place of Chazeh, in the middle of the degree, and there the degree ends. This parsa includes within it three sfirot, half of Tiferet and Nehi, Binah and Tum, that fell from each degree to the degrees below it. For this reason, each lower one clothes the three sfirot Nehi of the upper. One because of the upper one, because they fell to its place due to the siyum that was set up in the place of the parsa. This is the meaning of Zeranpin clothing from parsa in the middle of Yeshut, and below their half of Tiferet and Nehi, as they are considered Binah and Tum of Yeshut that fell into its place. And because there is no absence in the spirit, they remained there permanently. Similarly, the Malchut clothed from parsa in the middle of Zeranpin and below, meaning his half of Tiferet and Nehi that fell from Zeranpin to her place. It follows that Zeranpin begins in the firmament of Yeshut, which is the parsa in the middle. He is the upper firmament, and ends in his own firmament, the parsa in the middle of Zeranpin. From there down it is closed in Malchut, which is called the lower firmament, as it is written, from the end of the heaven to the end of heaven. From the end of heaven is the firmament of Yeshut, from which Zeranpin, called heaven, begins. The end of heaven is the firmament of Zeranpin, where it ends. 325. But it was said that Eden is below on the earth, and the garden receives from Eden below. So how is it said here that the garden receives from the four animals? However, it is all high secrets. As the point Malchut of Atzilut had a portion above in Atzilut, it had a portion below in the earth. As it is the 10th part of Atzilut, it is the 10th part of the earth, the garden. And the garden below is the portion of that point in the earth, entertaining the spirit of the righteous in the earth and enjoying all the sides. Above and below, above she enjoys the righteous, zzsolt of Zeranpin, and below she enjoys the fruit of the righteous, the souls of the righteous that are born from zzsolt of Zeranpin. There's entertainment of Malchut above and below only in a righteous because his fruit is considered righteous like him. For this reason, just as Malchut above rides over four animals, the Malchut below the garden receives from four animals. And that garden extends from the point which is called Eden, like Malchut above. It is so because she is regarded as lower Chokhmah, because she extends from the upper Eden. And likewise the garden Malchut below extends from the lower Eden. Thus he receives from both, but the four animals are from the actual Malchut. And Eden is the upper light that extends to Malchut above and below. 326. These heads of the animals are four heads of faces. One, a lion. As it is written, the face of a lion on the right, Chesed, Michael. Two, ox. As it is written, the face of an ox on the left, Gvura, Gabriel. Three, an eagle. As it is written, the face of an eagle to the four of them, Tiferet, Raphael. Four, a man. Includes everything. As it is written, each had the face of a man. Malchut, who receives from all of them, Nuriel. In another respect, Michael is to the right, Gabriel to the left, and ox, Uriel in the middle, Tiferet, and Raphael has the face of a man. These are the four heads of the animals that carry the holy throne, Malchut. And because of their load, they sweat, and the river Dinur is made of that sweat from their load. The holy throne, Malchut, is the bottom Chokhmah. The Chokhmah in her appears through the four animals that carry her. This is the burden that the animals carry. And there is no disclosure of Chokhmah unless by disclosing the dinim at that point of Shiruk. The disclosure of these dinim is the sweat of the animals due to their load, due to the disclosure of Chokhmah. Also, the river of Dinur is made of these dinim. 327. When the souls rise, they bathe in that river Dinur and rise as an offering. But they do not burn but bathe. Like the salamander from which a garment is made, since it is born from fire, that garment is washed only in fire. The fire consumes the filth in it, and the garment is washed. So is the soul, which is from fire, taken from the holy throne, Malchut, of whom it is written in Daniel, his throne was sparks of fire. And when she needs to wash for the filth in her, she passes through the fire and is bathed. The fire consumes all of that filth in the soul, and the soul is washed and whitened. 328. Is there punishment for the soul in it? After all, she only washes. Woe unto a soul that suffers a strange fire, although she is whitened by it. But when the filth increases on her, woe to the soul that suffers that punishment, because that soul is whitened in the fire twice. 329. The first time is after he receives the bodily punishment. The soul goes and is taken and brought into a place called Ben Hinnom. It is called Ben Hinnom because there is a place in hell where the souls are purified by the purifier, to be whitened before they enter the Garden of Eden. There are two angels, messengers, ready in the Garden of Eden. They stand at the gate and scream to the appointees over that place in hell to accept that soul. 330. Before the soul is whitened in fire, the messengers scream to the appointees and say, Hinnom. And when she is whitened, the appointees come out with her from that place and place her by the doors of the Garden of Eden. Where those appointees stand, and the appointees tell the messengers, Hinnom, meaning here are the souls that have been whitened. Then that soul is admitted into Garden of Eden, and this is why that place in hell is called Ben Hinnom. 331. And how broken is the soul from the breaking of the whitening in her hell? For it is shattering from a lower fire, and although it descends from above, from the river of Dinul, because it reaches the earth below, it becomes fire that is not thin, and the soul is punished with it and breaks. Then the Creator brings out the sun, the upper light, that illuminates from those four openings, that illuminate in the firmament above the Garden of Eden. It reaches the soul, and she is healed. As it is written, but unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in its wings. 332. The second time a soul is whitened in a fire is after she sits in the lower Garden of Eden as much as she sits. It is so because until now it still did not part from all the things in the vision of this world. When she is elevated to the upper Garden of Eden, she must part from every vision and everything below, for which reason she is brought through the river Dinul. At that time, the soul is completely whitened in it and comes and appears before the Master of the world, when she is clarified on all sides. Once she has looked in that light, she is completely healed and perfected. At that time, those souls stand in garments and are crowned before their Master. Happy are the righteous in this world and in the next world. 333. And those souls in the lower Garden of Eden roam on all the beginnings of months and Sabbaths and rise up to a place called the walls of Jerusalem, the exterior of Malchut of Atzilut, where several appointees and Merkavot guard these walls. As it is written, I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem. They rise up to that place and do not come in before the Malchut until they are whitened. There they bow and delight with delight and return to the lower Garden of Eden. 334. They come out of the Garden of Eden and roam the world, seeing these bodies of the wicked in that punishment of theirs, as it is written, and they shall come out and look at the carcasses of the men that have rebelled against me, for their worm shall not die. Neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be abhorring into flesh to the rest of the corpses around them. Afterwards they roam and look at the tormented and sick, and those who suffer for unification with their Master return to the Garden of Eden and tell the Messiah in the Garden of Eden. 335. When they tell the Messiah of their sorrow for Israel in their exile, and those wicked among them who do not look to know their Master, he raises his voice and weeps over those wicked among them. As it is written, but he was violated by our transgressions, depressed because of our iniquities. The souls return and stand in their places. 336. In the Garden of Eden there is the hall of the sick. At that time the Messiah enters that hall and reads all the illnesses and pains and sufferings of Israel, which they will suffer. And they all suffer of them. And if he did not make it easier on Israel and took them on himself, there would not be a man who could tolerate the suffering of Israel for the punishment of the Torah. As it is written, indeed, our diseases he did bear, and our pains he carried. 337. Because there is no number to the suffering that stands over a person each day from the punishments of the Torah, and they all came down to the world when the Torah was given, and when Israel were in the Holy Land, they would remove all those ails and sufferings from the world by the work of the offering that they performed. Now the Messiah removes them from the world until a person of this world dies and receives his punishment. If the iniquities are plentiful, they're brought forth into hell, into those other lower sections where they suffer a great punishment because of the filth in the soul. Then additional fire is lit up, so it would consume that filth. 338. Happy are those who keep the commandments of the Torah, because the holy point, Malchut, wishes to entertain above in her place and below in the Garden of Eden. When the point wishes to entertain below in the Garden of Eden with the souls of the righteous, it is like a mother delighted with her sons and playing with them. Similarly, at midnight, she comes down to the Garden of Eden and plays with them. Okay.
הנה מה טוב מניים שבת אחים גם יחד הנה מה טוב שבת אחים גם יחד הנה מה טוב שבת אחים גם יחד הנה מה טוב מניים שבת אחים גם יחד הנה מה טוב שבת אחים גם